5, 4, 3, 2.
Back in 1959, Stan Lynch was...
I was a 14-year-old kid in junior high school.
Just like today, the people of 1959, Stan included, had no idea what the future would be like. But they had a plan to communicate with the people of 2009.
It was a day off from school. I think it had to be around Lincoln's birthday. There was some reason there was no school that day.
That plan started with concrete, lots of it, enough to open a new bridge in the middle of downtown Burbank. Not the most exciting day off for most ninth graders.
I just wanted to see what was going on. I just remember they talked about they were going to have a time capsule that they were going to seal up, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. And none of my friends wanted to come or anything. I just came by myself.
It was placed in 1959, and then 50 years is when we were supposed to open it.
That's today. The year 2009 certainly sounded like the future.
That's tough cement.
And it was. Back when the tough cement was poured,
floating cars
were the dream. But this was the reality.
For years, I've been telling my friends, there's a time capsule buried in there. Yeah, right, sure.
Well, I can see it right there. See the silver capsule?
Lost to time, only remembered by a few. That day when Stan was 14 is here again.
Wow. That is small.
But just big enough to hold a roll of 35mm film.
Obviously, a lot of changes over 50 years.
Yeah, it looks like it's soldered shut.
Inside were these photos. In fact, all the photos that you've seen so far. They also took pictures of all the front pages from local papers in January of 1959. 50 years later, there's a new headline to write. Here on the bridge, with a grown-up time travel.
It did seem like it was a bigger capsule back then, but then I was a lot smaller.
Okay, here's one thing that I don't get about this. They had a chance to send something into the future,
into
2009, with those robots walking around, there's spaceships flying and flying cars. That's what they thought 2009 was going to be like. So they chose to send
35mm film. Who uses 35mm film?
No, they had no idea if that was going to exist in the future. So the key to folks out there who are building time capsules, please
develop the picture first.
Yes.
Put the picture in the capsule.
That's a good idea. This is Wavelength. My name's Dave Malkoff.
I'm Josh Rubinstein.
And what we do is we take one topic of science, we explore it for 1/2 an hour, and today's topic?
Time travel. Now, I did a lot of studying on this. I watch movies. I love Back to the Future. You get in the DeLorean, you go back and forth in time. There's Doc and the dog. But I just think it's fiction. I don't think you can actually do that. I don't think you can go forward in time.
There's actual science behind time travel that I've been looking into, that you can actually go into the future, go into the past.
So I can set the clock and go back and forth?
No. You're thinking of time in the whole wrong way. You're thinking of it like a clock on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Now it is that, but it's also more than that. Time can kind of be like a place.
Oh, like here, like this space.
Yeah, like a place like here, or like Japan, or like Paris, or any place on a map. You can go to a place on the map, right? You can also go to a place in time. But you got to understand what is time and what is space.
Well, space is where we live.
There's a space, a building in fact, that was designed to look like it's broken apart by gravity.
We live in a world that's all around us, and what we say is that every different location in the world is a different point in space.
Believe it or not, every space in space is connected.
There's 3 different directions. We can go up or down, left or right, forwards or backwards, and then we've used them all up. There's no other directions we can go. All the other directions are some combinations of those. But then we also have time. Time is another direction that we can move in. We move forward in time, 1 day per day, 1 day per day, 1 day.
One crazy-haired guy you may have read about in school came up with the idea that all those points are connected to each other. Not only that, those points are actually connected to the points on the timeline as well. So get this, it's not just one thing, space, and another thing, time. There's no separation between the two. Space and time live together as one hunk of stuff. It's called, what else? Space-time. One fan of Einstein is Dr. Sean
Carroll?
Sean Carroll.
C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
He works at Caltech. We met him in that crazy-looking building. It's the astrophysics building where they study Einstein, space, time, and that one thing that links it all together, gravity.
Well, this was Einstein's great idea. Everyone knew before Einstein about gravity, about the fact that if you have an apple and you drop it, it falls toward the Earth, because the Earth is pulling on the apple with the force due to gravity. It's the same thing that keeps the Earth orbiting around the Sun. The Sun has a gravitational field that is pulling on the Earth. What Einstein realized that previous people had not is that the right way to think about gravity is as the curvature of space and time itself.
So now that you know what space-time is, let's try to visualize it. If you could see it, it's curvy, it's stretchy, bouncy, just like a trampoline. Every time I bounce down on the trampoline, it bends out of shape. Now scientists and sci-fi geeks around the world call this a warp. The trampoline warps out of shape because my body has mass. Woo! It takes a lot of energy to do that. It also takes a lot of power in space. The sun has a lot of mass and it pushes against the net of space-time, creating a giant warp. Now that is why the Earth goes around the sun. The Earth is creating its own warp, caught up in the warp of the sun, and they can't seem to stop swinging around each other.
What we feel as the force of gravity is our response to the curvature of space and time around
Now
us.
this all makes time travel possible. Stick with me, it gets a little weird. Now, here's a 100-year timeline for you, 1909 to 2009. Now normally if you were to make that journey, it would take a century to get between those 2 points. But if you were to take that 1909 point and stretch it, we know that space-time is stretchy, all the way over to here, you have 2 points right next to each other connected by a tunnel. Now that tunnel has a name. It's called a wormhole.
Wormholes are basically like tunnels through space, but they're shortcut tunnels. If you had a wormhole, it would be like you went in one side of the tunnel in Los Angeles, and you came out 5 minutes later in New York City, just moving at 50 miles an hour. It's basically a way to get from one place in space to another place in space by traveling through a much shorter distance. This is something that couldn't have happened if it weren't for the fact that space and time are curved, like Einstein taught us. They can be curved in interesting ways, and a wormhole is an example of an interesting way that space-time can be curved.
The 4th of July, 1776 is another date you probably heard about in school. It's a fixed point in your history book, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That exact point is where the United States began. To get back to that date, you need an old map of Philadelphia and a time machine.
So if we could have a wormhole, which is a big if, we're not sure if they exist, and we moved it around in the right way, we might be able to actually use a wormhole as a time machine to go back and visit the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Now normally moving through time is like walking down a giant hallway. Past Monday, then you walk a little bit more, you get to Tuesday, you walk a little bit more, you get to Wednesday. If you had a wormhole, you could skip inside Wednesday and then immediately be at the weekend on Friday. Oh, I forgot something at the beginning of the week. So I can walk out on Tuesday, go into Wednesday, skip forward to Thursday, and then walk ahead to Friday and the weekend. You can move effortlessly through time, through wormholes, if they exist.
And if wormholes exist, can you use them to travel backwards in time is another good question. We don't know the answer. There have been speculations, there have been hypotheses about how you might manipulate a wormhole to go backwards in time, but it's an open question. Right now, the best we can say is that we just don't know.
My head is spinning right now from that.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
let me see if I got my hands around this.
Okay, go ahead.
Wormholes, the conduit for time travel. Yeah. They're kind of like subways, right? You can travel in space and time.
That's a great example. That's a great example. So let me think about this. If you go in one spot on the subway in a station, you go under a tunnel, and then you come out another subway station. There are 2 different points in space-time.
But the subway hasn't been built yet.
No, nobody's built the subway, so no time travel right now.
Yes, time travel.
I just told you.
No, I say time travel you can go back in time, and in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how.
All right.
Wavelength.
We're back. Okay, so a little while ago I told you we could go back in time. Now, if there was a time you could go back to, where would it be?
Ancient Egypt. Let's go to ancient Egypt. Yes.
And here we are.
It's hot. The Sahara.
At the pyramids.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that was a little tactical here. Yeah, there's a camel right over there. How nice is that?
That's horrible graphic.
Actually, not that far back. I found a way that you could actually go back in time in your life, and you might be able to do it right now. Take a look. Harry Potter's platform 9 3/4. A red phone booth. Doc's DeLorean, flux capacitor included. All viable forms of time travel, but a little difficult to get your hands on. But what if I told you there was a time travel machine that was effective, elegant, and easy to use? And I bet most of you have one sitting in your house right now. Still interested? I have unlocked the key to time travel. Your home computer. And a simple program called Facebook. With it, I've been able to turn back the hands of time. Well, not that far. But this far. And this far too.
Today, Debbie and I will reveal these hidden mysteries of Highland Park High School.
Yep, and even here.
Josh Rubinstein, WIFR-TV, Action News, Rockford.
If you've never heard of Facebook...
The story of Facebook is actually a classic story of technology and a kid who, succeeded beyond his wildest dreams.
My friend Leo Laporte will help us make sense of it.
Facebook was created as a Facebook for college kids.
He's a syndicated radio host and all-around tech guru.
Now, just ahead.
Yes. Documenting.
We contacted him over the internet from his ranch in Northern California.
This is my Facebook page, and you can see that there's my profile shot.
It's very high-tech stuff.
And it's true, there is something to be said for real human interaction.
So, Leo, how does Facebook work?
When you join as a freshman, they hand you a paper book with pictures of all of your classmates, so you can kind of get to know them. And when you see them on campus, you can look them up. And that's called a Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, took it one step further.
Mark, being of the internet generation, by the way, this is only 5 years ago, said, well, it would be a lot handier to have that on the internet. So he created a digital version of that paper Facebook. He called it Facebook. It expanded to the whole world. It's now got 175 million people using it. Zuckerberg himself said if this was a country, we'd be the 6th largest country in the world.
But how about those faces from the past?
You create an account. It's free to do so. You put a profile picture up of yourself on that account. And then you, as your life happens, you post more pictures. You post what we call status updates. Boy, I'm watching the Academy Awards, and I can't believe the number of white ball gowns on there. I'm having lunch today. Boy, ham sandwiches sound good. They can be trivial, silly things. They can be funny. They can be, it's what you're up to. Your friends join Facebook, and they say, I'd like to be your friend online.
And then, of course, the key element after that is you get to see I get to see all your friends.
Yes. Friends of friends are very important. In fact, that's what makes Facebook so sticky, is you join, when your friends join, you all kind of join at once. It's almost like a virtual hangout, a virtual mall or bar.
And now for the time machine part. I log on to Facebook, and it begins.
I know this is going to be very hard to believe, but I wasn't always the cool weather guy.
Scoop Rubinstein here again.
I was actually, kind of a dork.
It's very, very hot, very lonely, I don't like it very much. Do you like it?
No. And unfortunately, the Wayback Machine here, Facebook, will let me see that. And you don't have to go too far. Take a look at this. You ready?
Here's 3rd grade, Mrs. Markoff's class. Yeah, not much better in 4th. Then there's Chorus, Edgewood Junior High School. All the photos uploaded by my so-called friends.
I'm right over here. That's me right there. My mom never let me wear jeans to school. I always had to, I was not allowed to wear jeans or a t-shirt. I had to wear a collared shirt to school every day.
Friends who I hadn't spoken to in 2 or 3 decades were sending messages, posting pictures and videos. The virus was spreading.
Where word of mouth is so strong that this stuff spreads at a viral pace.
I decided it was time to reach out and really put this time machine to the test.
This is from Day Camp 1982, and that's Peter Alexander.
Now, Pete's a fellow Facebook friend and a high school classmate. We were buds when we were younger, and as chance would have it, we both ended up here in Los Angeles.
I met him at his office over at the cable channel G4. Let's use that Facebook and let's make a little bit of time machine magic. So I'm waiting at the door and we'll see when I'm allowed in and we'll talk to him, find out what I was like as a... Peter, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
So
what's going on? Is it a little trippy, like seeing? Because I think the last time I saw you was high school.
Yes, I think so too.
After a few minutes of catch-up.
So I brought my yearbook knowing that you were coming.
Oh, look at this. Hey, look at that. I'm putting this down. This is the Giant 101.
Oh, look at this one. This is from David Besser. Remember David? Yeah. He's like, when you're reading this and we haven't spoken for 20 years, look me up.
Did you look him up?
I got to wait a couple months, but yeah, it's going to happen. Okay, see here. This is the cool kids right here. Okay, they're hanging out in the hallway.
That's so true. That's so true. Those are the cool kids.
This is what the cool kids did. They just hung out in this hallway. This like after lunch, and they just hung out.
Now, did I really travel back in time? I mean, it's clear we weren't back in 1987.
Look at that. And there's your buddy Josh right there. Right below him is me.
Dude, I do have the funky cape.
Doesn't see how he's
what's up with that?
Doing a little shift. He's like, because
I had a huge crush on Melinda Lurie.
Oh yeah.
Didn't we all?
And Melinda and Lisa Klein, remember them? They were attached at the hip, those two.
They were. But in our minds, we were there.
I was the senior class president, and
you were?
I was.
I don't think I knew you were the senior class president.
I just did it for the chicks.
Apparently, I didn't vote for you. Laughing at the things that made us laugh 20-some years ago.
Who wears a tie?
Who does wear a tie?
This guy has no. This is the first time I've probably seen you without a tie.
Without a tie.
Yeah.
It's a little sad.
Yeah.
And when it was time to say goodbye. Well, dude, thank you very much. I appreciate you having some time with me, man. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. We both agreed. It was almost as if 2 decades had never passed. So that's it. That's the time machine. A computer program with the power to unlock the past. It's not science fiction at all.
It is this time machine that you throw in Highland Park High School, class of '89, and all of a sudden, do you know these people? And it comes up, and you're like, add a friend, add a friend, add a friend, add a friend, and all of a sudden you're reconnecting with these people in a matter of minutes.
Just plug it in, log on, and remember.
Hey, that's very touching, Josh. I like that.
It was sweet. It was a kind of a sweet story.
The one thing people don't know is the reason why I tracked that guy down is owed him $20.
And I got it back. Now, would you go back to school? Did you enjoy school?
We are going back to school.
We are?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's right. We're going to find out what you have to say about time travel.
Everybody's thought about going back in time.
I think it is possible to go back.
I would like to see one day if we can go back in time.
So, Dave, tell me, where did you go to junior high school?
That's W.S. Guy in Youngstown, Ohio.
And we've already established that I was not necessarily the coolest guy in the world.
We saw the picture.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's pretty the hair all over the place. Would you have considered yourself cool when you were in junior high school?
No, not at all. I am still nerdy to this day.
Really? Because I think it's very hard to believe. I mean, you come off as such a cool guy, you know?
I don't think so.
Well, we are here at the San Fernando Middle School in the city of San Fernando.
And this is our Pick School of the Week.
San Fernando opened in 1896. It was originally a community college, and now it's 6th through 8th grades.
I think it's true. Well, I think you can.
Well, I think everybody has.
Really?
Everybody's thought about going back in time. We are moving forward in time, but slowly.
As we are living right now, we are slowly but surely we are moving forward. Isn't that sort of in a way of time traveling? Not really fast, but yes.
If a star explodes and we're seeing the light, that star exploded a long time ago, but we're barely seeing the light.
1932.
If I could, I think I'd like to go back to 4th grade.
I like history, and I would like to see how, like, even though they can't see me, I want to see, like, when they made history.
1700s. George Washington when he became president. Jesus. I want to go to 0.
Still ahead.
Here on Wavelength.
If you could go into the future, you'd have an opportunity to see where your kids end up. Do they end up at MIT or in jail?
Back in a moment.
So we are here with Mr. Bart Lenahan. He's a physical science teacher here at San Fernando Middle School.
8th grade.
8th grade.
Yeah. 8th grade. So do you think we can go ahead into the future or go behind into the past?
We discussed that with the students, and I propose, do you think it's possible? not possible, or can you do both, go into the future and into the past, or can you only go into the past, or can you only go into the future? I give them a lot of different options.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully we're going in the future.
Just wait around a little bit. We'll get there.
We'll get there. You're on your way. But we do discuss it. I would say the majority of the students, it's sort of split between some saying they cannot, and others saying you can only go back into the past.
If you should go back in time, if you mess around with something that happened back in time, that you have changed the course of that whole butterfly effect thing?
That is the student's favorite subject. Going back in time, if you see something, can you change it? And if you do change it, would all of a sudden, would you be different? Would you not exist anymore?
Yeah. You can go back and kill your grandfather, and then you've got a grandfather paradox.
Exactly. Say, you know, if your father, if you saw your father,
that's an actual scientific. Tell them about the grandfather paradox. You know about that.
The students do talk about that. That is a real conversation in the 8th grade in our classroom. Believe me. You know, they do talk about that. You know, if they saw their father and he got pushed out in front of a car, all of a sudden, would the students still exist, or all of a sudden would they just disappear? Personally, I don't think you can go to the future, but I think you could observe the past.
If you could go into the future, you'd have an opportunity to see where your kids end up. Do they end up at MIT or in jail?
Hopefully, I'm going to produce one of the students that is one of the first people to land on Mars. That's my goal in teaching. That's my goal in teaching.
Everybody's thought about going back in time, punching their self in the face for no reason. Punch myself in the face, I'm all dazed and confused. Then see if I get punched in the face too. Karma, basically.
Okay.
I'll be honest. That was a little troubling.
Yeah.
So if that young man could unleash the power of time travel,
if you had a time machine,
and punch himself. I don't understand.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why would
because
anybody?
Hey, no. That guy has been bugging me for like, he's from 20 seconds in the future.
Yeah. Let's not let him in the studio.
No more.
I'm Josh Rubinstein.
And I'm Dave Malkoff. This is Wavelength. We will see you next time.